Wala na bata, di na estudyante. Matapos ka na.
A powerful magnitude 7.6 earthquake struck southern Philippines on Friday morning, triggering an immediate tsunami alert across several regions of the country and in neighboring Pacific nations. The epicenter was located about 62 kilometers southeast of the municipality of Mani in Davao Oriental province, within the Mindanao region. According to the Philippine Institute of Volcanology and Seismology, the quake occurred at a depth of just 10 kilometers, increasing its destructive potential and the likelihood of dangerous waves. In the first minutes after the event, the Pacific Tsunami Warning Center confirmed waves of up to 3 meters above normal tide levels were expected, while the United States Tsunami Warning System warned of significant sea level variations within a 300-kilometer radius of the epicenter. Local authorities reacted quickly and issued immediate evacuation orders for coastal communities in the provinces of Davao Oriental, Davao de Oro, Surigao del Sur, and Evacuations del Sur. Sirens sounded along the Mindanao coast as civil defense officials broadcast instructions for people to move to higher ground or at least 2 kilometers inland. However, the situation worsened when early reports indicated building damage in Davao Oriental and power outages in several towns in the region.
Uy, kusog kaayo. Uy, Jesus. Dali, diri, Paris. Paris! Ali, diri na. Uy, kusog.
According to the United States Geological Survey, the quake was initially measured at magnitude 7.4, but the Philippine Institute of Volcanology and Seismology later upgraded it to 7.6, confirming it as one of the most powerful seismic events recorded in the Philippines this year. In Davao City, located about 250 kilometers from the epicenter, classes were suspended and students evacuated schools as a precaution. Local authorities ordered inspections of bridges and critical structures due to the risk of significant aftershocks. President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. said the government was closely monitoring the situation and that search and rescue teams would be deployed as soon as conditions allowed. He added that emergency agencies were in constant contact with local authorities to coordinate potential humanitarian assistance and assess structural damage.
Lino guys, dito sa Davao guys.
Minutes after the earthquake, the Pacific Tsunami Warning Center confirmed abnormal sea level disturbances, reinforcing the initial warnings. In a statement, it said hazardous tsunami waves are possible for coasts located within 300 kilometers of the epicenter. Forecasts indicated the first waves could arrive between 1 and 2 hours after the quake, affecting the provinces of Davao Oriental, Surigao del Sur, and parts of the islands of Samar and Leyte.
Linog, guys. Linog. Lord. Stop.
But the worst was yet to come. As waves began to approach, Philippine authorities warned impacts could exceed 1 meter in height and that effects could be amplified in enclosed bays and straits. Coastal monitoring stations reported unusual sea level fluctuations, and strong currents were observed dragging small boats near Mani. Indonesia, located south of the Philippine archipelago, also issued a precautionary alert for its regions of Papua and North Sulawesi, anticipating waves between 30 centimeters and 1 meter. Indonesian authorities urged residents to stay away from beaches and riverbanks until any threat was ruled out. On the island nation of Palau, local officials issued the same advisory and activated emergency protocols. The Philippine Institute of Volcanology and Seismology explained that the quake was caused by movement along an active fault beneath the Philippine Sea, an area where several tectonic plates converge. This zone is one of the most seismically active on the planet, forming part of the so-called Pacific Ring of Fire, a 40,000-kilometer belt of faults that hosts more than 75% of the world's volcanoes and earthquakes. Aftershocks followed quickly. Minutes after the main event, several smaller tremors were recorded in the same area, increasing public concern and complicating the return home for many residents. Emergency agencies stressed that no one should approach the coast until official alerts were lifted. The National Office of Civil Defense of the Philippines confirmed it had operations centers active across the 6 potentially affected provinces. Deputy Administrator Bernardo Rafaelito Alejandro foresaid waves could reach coastal areas within 2 hours and repeated the importance of evacuating before that occurred. Meanwhile, airports and seaports in Mindanao were temporarily closed as a precaution. Maritime authorities ordered fishers and boat owners to secure their vessels and keep away from piers until further notice. However, the situation deteriorated further when damage to secondary roads and minor landslides caused by ground shaking were confirmed. The National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council reported ongoing assessments of possible damage to hospitals and rural schools near the epicenter. As of now, there were no reports of fatalities, but the government warned that final assessments would take several hours due to the scale of the event. In Davao Oriental, Governor Edwin Jubahib confirmed several buildings had structural cracks and some families left their homes for fear of aftershocks. Electricity was cut in several communities and telecommunications were unstable during the initial hours after the quake. The National Meteorological Service of the Philippines reported no additional threat from rain or storms that could complicate rescue operations, though it recommended caution due to potential landslides on unstable mountain slopes. Hours later, Pacific monitoring centers recorded minor sea level fluctuations in Davao Oriental and Surigao del Sur, but ruled out a devastating tsunami. Even so, the Philippine Institute of Volcanology and Seismology kept its advisory in place for more than 6 hours until it confirmed the threat had diminished. The numbers kept rising for temporarily displaced residents. More than 10,000 people were moved to emergency shelters located in schools and municipal gyms. Authorities distributed food and water, while medical teams assisted people with anxiety or minor injuries. The earthquake occurred just 2 weeks after another seismic event on the island of Cebu that left 74 people dead and thousands displaced. That timing raised concern among experts, who warned that tectonic activity across the archipelago could remain elevated in the coming months. The government reiterated its commitment to strengthening preparedness and response policies for natural disasters. In an official statement, President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. said the Philippines would continue working to improve early warning systems and ensure faster communication with communities exposed to seismic and tsunami risks. The Philippine Institute of Volcanology and Seismology added that large earthquakes in Mindanao are not unusual, recalling similar events in 2019 and 2021 that also prompted mass evacuations but had limited impacts. As the hours passed, assessment teams began surveying affected areas. Closer to the epicenter, some roads showed fissures and older concrete structures suffered partial spalling. However, no severe damage was reported at dams or industrial facilities, reducing the risk of secondary emergencies. Basic services began to be restored gradually over the course of the day. By the end of the day, the Philippine Institute of Volcanology and Seismology lifted the tsunami alert and advised the public to remain vigilant for possible aftershocks. It confirmed more than 40 smaller tremors had been recorded, none with significant destructive potential. Local authorities thanked the public for responding quickly to evacuation orders within minutes. According to the National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council, that preventive action was key to avoiding a larger tragedy. Preliminary analysis concluded the energy released by the quake was equivalent to several million tons of TNT, placing the event among the most powerful in the country over the past decade.
Dagong linog guys. Dagong linog di sa Davao.